And we are back, and we just finished watching a classic horror story currently streaming on Netflix. The film was released this year with a runtime of 1 hour and 35 minutes. It's brought to you by the good folks at Netflix. This is the story of 5 people who are carpooling. What is it? Mark, Sophia, Elisa, Ricardo.
Mark, Sophia,
Elisa,
Ricardo, and
Fabrizio. Okay.
Fabrizio, yeah. He's the driver.
He's the driver. And I guess it's like an Uber thing, right? Because they're carpooling.
Yeah, it's like a Uber thing. They're carpooling in a camper.
Yes. Which is interesting, right? That you would share a ride with all these other strangers. But
I guess it's cheaper than taking the bus.
Yeah.
And it seemed like they were all going
in the same direction.
It wasn't like they were just like traveling from one place to another in a specific neighborhood. They were like traveling across the country.
Mm-hmm. This was directed by Roberto De Feo and Paolo Strippoli, with writing credits to Lucio Besana, Roberto De Feo, Paolo Strippoli. What did you think?
I thought it was okay.
Just okay?
Just okay. I mean, it definitely had its moments where it was like a classic horror movie. There was like a lot of suspense, a lot of weirdness. I really liked the production design on that creepy ass house.
Yes,
that was like very satanic looking.
Yeah.
And
well, this film definitely was made by people that love horror movies, right?
Yeah.
There's definitely shades of a lot of stuff. I mean, I was like thinking about Wicker Man and Midsommar, and
there was, I mean, the scene where all the people are at the table is straight out of Midsommar.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Here, like this little quaint Italian, I don't even know, like enclave that's in the middle of nowhere, and yeah, that scene like, definitely
especially
felt.
I mean, I'm just talking about the way it was shot.
Yes.
He was completely aping that scene from Midsommar.
Right. The creepy house in the woods, very Raimi-ish.
Yeah, I mean there was a lot of elements of Midsommar, because there was a lot of like, I guess, creepy-ish architecture in Midsommar as well.
And also just folklore.
And folklore and whatnot. And I think that was part of like the thought process behind like what's really going on, and that there's a lot of influences. The film is called a classic horror story. Right. The guy says, oh, this situation we're in, it's like a classic horror story.
Yeah. That reminded me sort of like Scream.
Yeah. And I mean, even down to the font.
Yes.
It's got that John Carpenter font, which has since been aped by like Stranger Things and a lot of recent horror stuff, where you could see that the kids who grew up watching John Carpenter movies are now making the movies, and they're just like, here's my homage to Carpenter.
Yeah. I'm sure Carpenter would be pleased. Did you have any favorite parts in this film?
Probably that creepy ass house. I thought that was really good. I would say like it was a good, like I said, it was good in that it had those feelings of suspense, dread, and horror. I kind of knew the
creepy music throughout the piece.
The creepy music, which is kind of funny because it's all subtitled.
But we watched it with the subtitles and with just everything is
subtitled. It's like hopeful music playing, hopeless music playing.
Hopeless. That was my favorite.
Yeah. Computer beeping. You know, it was like, why is that subtitled? It's not like it's beeping in Italian. It's a beep. You know.
And even like when Mark was speaking in English, they would subtitle it. Yeah. I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah, they subtitled when a beer bottle cap hit the floor. Bottle cap rattling. It was just like, come on.
Yeah.
Okay. I know you want to earn that paycheck, but
ease up.
Ease up there, buddy. But I would say where it kind of fell a little short for me is I kind of figured out what was going on fairly early. There's a lot of elements where if you're not really paying attention, maybe you'll get taken along for the ride longer than I did, but there's a lot of clues as to what's going on.
This is going.
And where it's going.
Yeah.
And I got to say, I was enjoying the whole sort of like, let's say, genre of horror that they were delving in. And then there was sort of like a change up there. And I was like, oh, it's a little disappointing. But I kind of still was along for the ride. I was like, okay, I can roll with this. And it was all right. It was just all right.
Is that what made it all right for you?
Well,
If the story had continued in the original vein, would you have liked it more?
Maybe. I think I may have liked it a bit more because I really did enjoy films like Midsommar.
Oh God, that's so good.
And I really like that supernatural horror. Sometimes things are just weird and not really explained very well, and there's some ambiguity there. Things aren't tied up in a bow.
Right.
And I like that.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder. It really creeps you out because there's just it's like sort of like that cosmic H.P. Lovecraft horror where it's beyond mortal man's comprehension, and to really ponder it is to just drive yourself insane.
Yeah.
And I love that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
When there's like a film called The Void, which it
it's
really
nuts. Yeah.
goes nuts into that sort of aspect. There's like, it's not the greatest horror film you see, but I think it really invokes that John Carpenter From Beyond Reanimator type vibe so excellently well, and then it just sort of ends where it's just like, what the fuck's going on?
Exactly.
And I love that. I love the end of the movie, I'm just like, what the fuck's going on? I love that stuff.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, you know what? I agree with you. I think I agree with you. I mean, I still enjoyed it, but it did feel like a cheat
I still enjoyed it
at some point when you finally figure out what's going on. Did you have a favorite character in this thing?
Nah, I didn't really find any of the characters that intriguing. They were all serviceable. They played their parts. Matt was a douchebag, but I still felt bad for him. Or Mark. I really liked Sophia because I felt like she was definitely a fighter, and given half a chance, she probably could have. I think I actually liked Sophia more than Elisa.
Yeah.
Like Elisa was the main protagonist, our point of view character. But yeah, I think Sophia was definitely more of the fighter. But if you're following the classic horror thing, that one, she doesn't make it. So that character never makes it.
Do we want to speak to spoilers?
I would rather not. I mean, if you want to like say, okay, let's give our numbers and then let's go into spoilers, I'd be fine with that. But
okay, I would like to do that. I mean, is there anything else production-wise? I think it's a solid film. I think
it looks very nice, and like I said, the production
set pieces are really well done.
Really well done.
The atmosphere, the music,
creepiness.
The person, whoever's doing the subtitling, good job. Earned your paycheck.
I could have done without subtitling music and sound effects.
I think all the actors were really, really good. Even the ones that you really didn't get a feel for. Like, I didn't really get a feel for the doctor. I mean, I guess he has his moment there where he's revealing something about himself, but I still didn't feel for him. I really liked Sophia. I was really rooting for her. Fabrizio, I never cared for. Mark was just okay. I think
Mark was an asshole.
Yeah, whatever.
He was supposed to be the asshole.
Yeah, I guess he was. And Elisa, I didn't find her as compelling, but I really enjoyed seeing her journey. And that's another reason why I wanted to speak to spoilers, because I wanted to get your thoughts on what that ending meant.
Okay, so what would you give this?
I would give this film a 7. I think it's a decent script. It's not it's certainly not Midsommar or Hereditary as far as horror goes, but I think it has a nice mix of different types of horror and like the genre. And I think it does it well. I think it's an interesting story. I agree with you. I think it would have been more impactful if they had kept on the supernatural vibe of the film, but then it becomes something else. The ending, like closing thing is in the credits, is kind of silly, but I also wanted to talk to you in the spoiler section about that, because I wanted to get your thoughts on what that meant. And then, I think the actors were all really good, interesting scripts. It moved really quickly. It's only an hour and 35 minutes, so you're not
Yeah, you're not
suffering
You're
through
not
a-
stuck in a slog. Right?
Yeah, everything moves pretty quickly, and the end comes soon. What's your number?
I'd probably give it a 6.
6. Okay.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
It was good. It wasn't great.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, I think if you haven't seen it and you're looking for something new in the horror genre, this is definitely a safe bet.
Yeah.
It's been a classic horror story of the year, especially these last few months for us anyway. And hopefully next year will be a lot better.
Here's hoping.
Here's hoping. All right, so we
All right,
will...
spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Spoil
Yes,
this
so now
movie
we're going to spoil this movie. So at the end, you find out that Fabrizio has been in on this all along.
Yeah, he's like an aspiring horror filmmaker, which is the whole filmmaking thing vibe is apparent throughout the film. In the beginning, he's like taping everybody, saying it's his travel vlog or whatever. And there are other little hints that Fabrizio is the guy behind everything.
Yeah, he knew more than he was letting on.
He's got beers in the car, which I guess make everybody pass out eventually. That comes up later again, and he's the guy who's leading everybody through the woods when suddenly, we walked in a big circle. And so, yeah, there's a couple of clues there. He's the guy who knows the mythology behind all the
Weird
creepy
characters
demon characters, and he also gives away a big one when the guy's like, he's like, how do you know where to go? And the doctor's like, how do you know where to go? And he's like, I grew up in a place just like this.
Yeah.
So he
dropped clues for sure.
He dropped a lot of clues that he was the guy behind it all.
I didn't get it until Elisa has that revelation in the cabin.
Oh yeah,
that was my epiphany.
Yeah, she was going on his earpiece.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when she said the thing about like the beer bottle, and she's like, "Why didn't you drink?"
That was another thing. I'm not going to drink. I want to stay awake, and then
Right.
he just falls asleep instantly.
Right. Right. Because when she wakes up, he's like passed out. I originally thought he was going to be like throat cut. But that didn't happen to him, at least. Yeah. I didn't see the thing with the little sister.
Once it became apparent that this was all a ruse, and you think about it, yeah, she was in on it because she was just in that little bush in the attic of the house.
Right.
It's like, wow, she must have been there the entire time waiting for these people to show up.
Right. Well, the other creepy thing, obviously Fabrizio is just coming into this, but the other creepy thing was that kind of deserted junkyard of cars.
Yeah, that was all set up.
Oh, that was? You think so?
I think that was just all set up.
I don't know. I think that, well, again, my interpretation. That's the beauty of film, right? You bring your own spin on it. My interpretation was that this was something that was being done for years. Like those people at the table, this was a ceremony that they all participated in, and this had been going on for years.
The thing that blows that out of the water is that thing at the end credits.
Why?
Because that's the movie.
Yes, that's the movie.
That's the movie that they end up making.
Yes, that's the movie, but
if this was something that was going on over and over and over again, there would be countless movies about it. And he even says it himself. He says, I turn those three guys, they're just the guys who created the mafia. I'm the guy who turned them into Freddy and Jason and Michael Myers. Mm-hmm. He made all this stuff up. There was no nights and rituals or anything like that. It was basically just him taking the history of the mafia, which apparently started with those three dudes, turning them into supernatural entities, and then creating some sort of stupid ritual thing where he's going to become the filmmaker that he always wanted to be.
I didn't see it that way. I thought it was a thing
you're right. It's open to interpretation, but if I'm looking at the signs, that's what I...
All right, Tiffany.
That's what I... That's what I saw.
Well, my interpretation was that this was something that was going on for a while, and the woman who was the mayor was capitalizing on it because this is what her son wanted. And as a parent,
Yeah,
you always
I-
try to facilitate
yeah,
your kids' dreams, right?
I think she was.
So I think in that regard, because she even says to Lisa, she's like, the mafia isn't what it used to be. So now we have to rely on these other things to get what we need. And those people were hella afraid of her. Like, they didn't even pick up a fork to eat unless she ordained it so.
She was like the mob boss.
Right. Yeah. So this is why I'm saying those people look like they were ruled in fear.
Yeah.
So this is something that probably...
Plus she was like the mayor.
Right. So she kind of could keep this thing alive because they didn't look like educated people. They looked like country folk and backwoods people, right? So how do you control the masses? By controlling the message, right? So if she's telling these people, this is how you eat, this is how they eat, they participate in these things. And none of those people at that table were, well, there was a couple of young people, but not too many.
You know, the thing about that was they weren't in a farming community.
They weren't, but she's the mayor of a town.
Whole thing, they were a resort town, and the camp they were in was the 3 nights camp. It was a campground that they were at. So it wasn't even like those people were actually real farmers, and all the guns were stacked up by the props tent, the masks, everything. The whole thing everything was props. So I don't think at least my interpretation, the ritual was not like a real ritual. They were just killing those people because this is what this jerk son wanted. So, and his mom made it happen.
Well, I guess we'll never know. But
Yeah,
what did you think of the end credit scene?
That, like I said, that pretty much explained it to me, that it was just, even though the son and the daughter got killed, they still released the movie with the footage of the son getting killed.
Right. And the girl unmasking herself.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
I don't know. That's where...
See, that's where I feel like it's a thing that always happens. Like, they had no fear.
To me, it just felt like, oh, well, we're just passing this off as a movie. It's not real.
I know, but here's an experience that this woman had that obviously was real, and it's being...
Well, we don't know what happened to her. She walked into the ocean.
That's true.
That
was another thing. So what I wanted to get your thoughts on that. What did you think of that scene?
I don't know. I honestly didn't know what to make of that. If she actually finds, oh, this is salvation now. I'm back in with the public. People are filming me with cameras. I have reception on my phone. My mom's trying to get in touch with me. I'm just gonna walk into the ocean. That she drowned. I mean, you got a lot of open wounds. Going into the ocean probably isn't the smartest thing in the world.
Yeah.
That just seemed kind of weird. That and also, I don't know. That also was kind of a markdown for me. I didn't really enjoy the ending too much. I mean, it was. I enjoyed that she got some measure of vengeance. To me, it wasn't enough. I feel, why are you even introducing the mayor character and giving her any kind of lines or anything if she just drives off and disappears? I don't know. It was unsatisfying.
I disagree. I feel like that was more of like social commentary on the idea of, here you see someone covered in blood, obviously in shock, and the general reaction is to just whip out your phone and film it.
Yeah, I mean, there's that, but I'm just talking about as far as from a story point. I want a satisfying ending to the tale that I'm being told. I don't want the ending to be some sort of, oh, well, we got to do something. But I also want to make sure that social message gets out. The social message is secondary, and it should have been explained in the context of a satisfying finale. This kind of wasn't. It just...
Well, it definitely is ambiguous because, again, you don't know what that meant, what her going into the water. And then she holds her stomach. So does that mean she's been given a chance, so she's now going to keep this baby?
Keep the baby, yeah. I got the impression she intended to keep the baby after this whole
ordeal.
this whole ordeal. But who the hell knows? She, like I said, she wasn't a very satisfying character to begin with.
Right.
So,
but it's interesting that she's the POV character, because I agree with you. I don't think she was the most dynamic of the group, but she is the one that's left over. And I'm assuming she's given this second lease on life to sort of, the message here to her was to, I don't know, appreciate life, to accept your fate and kind of go with it. I don't know. I mean, it could be interpreted in so many different ways. And I think the whole idea of just, Fabrizio has that sort of scene with her where he tells her, you made me because you demand this stuff, so I'm giving it to you. And I think that too ties in with the whole social commentary of, we live now in a society where even in crowded rooms, we're just strangers to each other. And
was that the message? I thought the message was that we've become like really shallow to the point where a YouTube video of some guy getting hit in the nuts gets more notoriety than a piece of art.
That too. I mean, everything, like, what is art, right? I mean, is it the Sistine Chapel or is it the Friends of Fabrizio YouTube channel? Do you know what I mean? So this is another thing to ponder, right? Because what's art to me may not be art to you, and vice versa. And just the idea that we've moved into this society where everything is so processed and overdone. I don't know how to explain it, but
I wouldn't say it's processed and overdone. I think we're moving to a point where things are not over processed, that there is such a deluge of content, and nobody has an attention span anymore, that something like I said, somebody getting hit in the balls on a YouTube video gets 10 billion hits, but a guy who, I mean, let's go with the movie here, a guy who will spend his time crafting this horror film that's supposed to be such a great thing, would get the guy at the end basically looking at the beginning, scrolling all the way to the end, and then giving it a thumbs down.
right.
You know,
So did he even watch it?
No, he saw all the message boards. He's like, oh, I'll give it a shot. And that was him giving it a shot. He plays the first, not even like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And then he just moves the slider all the way to the end of the movie, sees the end of the movie, and gives it a thumbs down before he goes to dinner.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, was all that worth it? I mean, all those people are dead and it basically it amounted to...
Well, nobody... do people even know that? And that's another thing. I mean, I'm assuming if this is on the web, you know who these people that were murdered are. And it's like, wouldn't you call attention to that?
They could always just say, oh, this was all part of the movie. It was all a stunt.
So then where is this person? Where's Ricardo? Where's Sophia? Where's Mark?
Who knows? Who the hell knows?
And
who
how
cares?
Would,
she
and
was
how
she
would
was
the
a
mayor
she was a
explain
she was a
that
mob
her kids are gone?
Mob boss. Mob boss. That's it. That's all you got to say. Mob boss. Anyway, I think that's about it.
All right. So you gave it a 6. I gave it a 7. I still think it's worth checking out if you.
Yeah, if you're in the mood for some creepy horror, it'll take you like 80% of the way there.
Yeah.
And then it changes it up. And you may like it. You may like it. Like I said, it wasn't bad.
Right. It wasn't
it
bingo
just,
hell.
Oh God. Let's not even mention that.
Or Black Friday, which we couldn't even get through.
Yeah. But it changes it up. I kind of wish they just stayed with the original premise, even though, like I said, they were kind of foreshadowing where it was going from the get-go. But hey, you may like it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I think
it's an okay movie.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, it's definitely not up there with like Hereditary or Midsommar, but
absolutely not.
Yeah,
No.
but it's fun. It's fun, and we're huge fans of the genre, so
Yes, we love horror movies.
yeah. All right, and that's it from us, and we'll come back with another review soon. Good night.
Good night.